Now, in order to understand why money is so easily abused, I developed the theory of ideophysical dynamism. Okay, we're going to have another couple really quick thought experiments, but this is just to highlight what ideophysical dynamism is and ideophysical coupling. Now, when I was a kid, there was an old Calvin and Hobbes comic where Calvin and Hobbes made a little cardboard time machine, and they went on a Calvin and Hobbes-esque time machine adventure, and it was a pretty enjoyable comic at that time. Still pretty enjoyable, I'm sure. But it illustrates a really important idea that may seem to be, like it's an intuitive concept, but I found that there are a lot of concepts and ideas out there that we all think are intuitive, but are so intuitive and so fundamental to how we perceive and interact with reality that we forget it's even a concept and we don't pay attention to it. So ideophysical dynamism, it obviously, ideo, idea, physical, the physical world, dynamism, or the interplay between the world of the idea and the world of the physical, of our physical reality. So say you get a cardboard box, you write time machine across the side of it in big black permanent marker, you draw a flux capacitor and stick it to the back, and you put a little date selection panel at the front of the box. Obviously, this is not going to work. A kid might have some fun playing around with it, pretending that he's traveling through time, but we all know that time machine is not taking you anywhere, and it's not doing anything spectacular. The reason why it doesn't is because the actual concepts and theories and ideas that would be necessary to build a time machine that could actually warp and manipulate space and time and project somebody across a continuum to another specified time, place, and time and location, it's far beyond our grasp, and it just doesn't exist. There is no possible way a cardboard box and a little permanent marker is going to do that. The idea in the child's mind that created the time machine and what is actually required in the physical reality to perform that task are so radically different that it doesn't even come close to accomplishing that task. We could say the same with a broom. Unless you're a high-tech genius and you understand what you need to do to create a futuristic broom that can fly, just putting my ride across the broomstick isn't going to make it a viable method of transportation. So we have the world of idea, what our minds can come up with, these fantasies that we can create, and then you have the physical reality that you have to adhere to in order to get those ideas to work. Now, an engineer could design an engine and with very little tuning and tweaking, build an engine quickly that would actually run. So our cardboard time machine has a very low ideophysical coupling, but the engineer's engine, the engine he has in his mind, has a very high ideophysical coupling. Yeah, this is no duh. If you don't build it right, it's not going to work. But in order to analyze money, I needed to really name this thing. I needed to give it some concept I could kind of tease apart and analyze, because money has a very low ideophysical coupling. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at traffic laws for a moment. We have the physical road, we have the lights, and we have the physical cars that go on the physical road. Now, the road and the cars, high ideophysical coupling. It was conceptualized by engineers that understood how the world around us works, and they created these objects so we could use it in the physical world. But traffic laws, this is where things get a little interesting. Traffic laws have a bit higher ideophysical coupling, but not quite as high as, say, an engine. The reason is because a traffic law points to an idea that really doesn't have any other merit other than it's explaining how to use the roads and your vehicles correctly so that there aren't accidents. Now, could you run a red light and get away with it? Yes. But could you run a red light and get T-boned and seriously injured? Yes. So the traffic laws are designed to keep us safe on this physical system. Now, you can go down a rabbit hole talking about board games and the rules for the board games and all sorts of ideas and concepts when you start applying ideophysical dynamism. But let's talk about money for a second. Why does money have a low ideophysical coupling? And what does that mean specifically? Why is it bad to have a low ideophysical coupling? Well, first and foremost, systems of low ideophysical coupling have a high potential for being abused. Now, you couldn't abuse the theory of gravity because gravity is a real thing that really happens. It bends and warps space, and things adhere to the shape that space is twisted into. The only way to abuse gravity would be to manipulate it in some way, and then you're not abusing it because you're adhering to the natural fundamental concepts and construct of our world. You're actually engaging with the system that reality has in place. But systems of a low ideophysical coupling, because they aren't designed to connect and work completely with the physical reality that we live in, they have a high potential for being abused because you can twist and torque and manipulate it all you want. So why does money have such a low ideophysical coupling? Well, it is inherent in what money is. You have a medium of exchange, correct? What the medium of exchange means is you have one thing that can represent any number of things and any value of each number of things. So it is by nature extremely liquid and by nature has an extremely low ideophysical coupling. A good example is what happened to the stock market after COVID-19 became a real worldwide problem. The stock market plummeted. Now, if money was actually tied to the actual value of what things actually represent, or actually are, the stock market would not have crashed because it would have had somehow a high ideophysical coupling. And those prices and ideas would not have been shifted or manipulated because of the fear that grew across the country. And when something has a low ideophysical coupling, it can be easily abused and manipulated because it is, by its very nature, easy to abuse and manipulate. It is the nature of the beast. So, is money the root of all evil? It absolutely is not. It is not the root of all evil, just as the rules for monopoly are not the root of all evil. So what is then the root of all evil? The root of all evil, from what I have discovered and observed, is when something has a low ideophysical coupling and somebody or some group of people come along and manipulate that coupling in order to benefit themselves without any regard for anybody else. That is the abuse of money. So the root of all evil is the abuse of money.